This week, President Trump took to the stage at the United Nations General Assembly with a forceful message, blasting the body for what he called inaction and empty words. In nearly an hour-long speech, he rejected global climate and migration agendas, urging countries to shut down their borders, and warned against what he described as global overreach. The president also asked delegates a pointed question about the mere existence of the UN.
What is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war.
The sharp rebuke is stirring a debate around the world and raising new questions about America's commitment to global cooperation and international law. Joining us now is Georgia State law professor Monica Iyer, who specializes in international law and human rights. Monica, welcome to the show.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's start off with the president's question. Right off the bat, he says, what is the purpose of the UN?
Yeah, so I think the purpose of the UN is to provide a place for countries to come together to try and solve global problems, right? It was created in the aftermath of the terrible events of World War II, when countries really started to recognize that, look, we have all of these issues. We're increasingly in a world that is intertwined. The actions that we take in one country affect what's happening in another. We can't really go it on our own to solve some of these things, and we need a place that we can come together and solve them.
Yeah. And from a legal and human rights perspective, how damaging are the remarks that were made by the president for the UN's credibility of the UN?
So the international system is always a system that's a mix of law and politics. And so from a legal perspective, this doesn't change a lot legally, but from a political perspective, there's a lot of questions, I think, raised about the ways that the U.S. is going to keep interacting with other countries in the future, the things that other countries can do without the U.S.'s support, recognizing that there are collective problems that still need to be solved, whether the U.S. under the Trump administration wants to be a part of those solutions or not.
Yeah.
And certainly addressing human rights issues is one of those questions that we have raised by this. Addressing climate change is another. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now.
Does a speech like this or talk like this kind of hurt the UN's ability to bring countries together with those topics that you mentioned, like global climate change and migration or war?
So the speech is a symptom or an indicator of the broader approach the Trump administration has been taking to global engagement, which is very much a pulling back from the idea of global engagement, from the idea of multilateralism, that we can work together to solve these global problems. And so this speech is not, I think, in and of itself so much of an issue, although it does potentially aggravate tensions with allies in particular, but it is just one in a series of sort of more concrete actions that the Trump administration has been taking, including pulling out of global agreements like the Paris Climate Agreement, including refusing to fund various United Nations agencies, including refusing to participate in processes that every country in the world participates in, like the Universal Periodic Review, which is this human rights exercise that every country in the world goes through, and which the Trump administration went through in its during the first Trump administration, but this year they're refusing to participate. And so I think all of those things taken together really send a signal that the United States is an unreliable partner in trying to address some of these shared global concerns.
You mentioned our allies. Has this been done before? I don't know, Monica, if you can answer this, but have we seen this before, and the effect of it on our allies?
And we've certainly seen the U.S. vary in its commitment to global action and very in its commitment to getting our allies on board for the kinds of actions that we want to take, right? And so I think back to the invasion of Iraq, for example, is a time when the U.S. Took some actions that we managed to get some of our allies on board with, but not all of them. And so there was a period where there was a sense of a bit of crisis around international law, around the idea that the U.S. was sort of exerting power and going on its own. But I think, even in that time, there were still more efforts. There was still not the complete repudiation of the global system that you see right now. And that's why you see people who were very strongly sort of opposed to and condemning international law during the George W. Bush administration, like John Yoo, who are now condemning Trump's actions as being contrary to international law.
Gotcha. Monica Iyer, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate your insight this morning.